Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. The Tesla stock is going down and Tesla is doomed. No, but 2024 will be a very bad year for some of the legacy automakers, as Tesla is sitting with all the cards, basically controlling the whole car industry's pricing on BEVs. So Tesla could put the pressure cooker on the industry in 2024 to ensure their own growth, but by doing so hurting the weakest in the car industry, as we saw they did in China in 2023 with the price war they started there. But the price war could continue in 2024 and spread to the rest of the world. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. I know many are looking at the Tesla stock right now and are talking about how do we stop this downward trend. Well, please don't. I'm still looking to buy some more stock, and the cheaper the better. I think this will change during 2024, that people are focusing on Tesla's profits margins and stock price, because Tesla is in a position to continue pressuring the legacy automakers. Michael Dunn from Dunn Insight was interviewed by CNBC, and he thinks that Tesla will start yet another price war in the US this year. And I might just add, they already have in Europe as well.
This year, the theme will be price cuts, led by Tesla. That we're already started that, and other automakers are terrified because they think, oh my goodness, we've seen this price war play out in China. Here it comes to the United States. And Carlos Tavares, the CEO at Stellantis, has said, look, if we have to match Tesla with these price cuts in the United States, no one's going to make any money on EVs. So they're really in a tough position right now. They see long-term that EVs are still the future, but short-term, they lose money on EVs today. And if this price war really starts to build, they'll lose even more money on each EV. So we've gone from honeymoon to winter. Look for 2024. Some of the players that are currently in the market will not survive. That's a reality. Tesla's in a world of its own. It commands all kinds of power with regards to its charging network and also its pricing power. So what we saw play out in China last year is that Tesla kicked off a price war, and it really put pain on all of its competitors. That's what non-Tesla automakers feel right now in the United States. Tesla, of course, will have its margins will also deteriorate, but it's nothing compared to what the likes of Volkswagen or Ford or Stellantis are looking at, GM included. My goodness, we're not making money today, and we'll make even less tomorrow, but we want to speed up this transition to EVs, but we don't. That's the dilemma that is facing boardrooms across Western automakers today.
So most legacy automakers see that BEVs are the future, but they just don't know how to get from here to there. We have seen them talking big about how they will catch up to Tesla and was all in on EVs, but in 2023 they did all start to back down from those targets and goals, but that is probably driven by a few factors. Firstly, they don't want to because they know how much money they are losing on selling those EVs, like Ford that expected to lose something like $4.5 billion just in 2023 on selling only 75,000 BEVs. So we are talking about big losses for the old guys. So they don't even want to sell even more, so they lose even more. $4.5 billion is enough in 1 year, right? But at the same time, they suddenly also see the demand disappearing for their EVs. Like we heard from Ford, just how many hundred of thousand pre-orders they had for their F-150 Lightning, but now they're cutting back on the production, and in all of 2023 they did not sell more than 24,000 Lightnings, so they should be swimming in demand. So what happened? Well, the second thing is that Tesla has been cutting prices through 2023, and we can probably see that with Ford's Mach-E that stayed pretty much flat for the whole year no real growth. In the same year that the Tesla Model Y grew to insanity and became the best-selling car in the world. So pretty hard for Ford to come out and say there's no demand for electric SUVs. Well, the highest demand on the planet in 2023 was for an electric SUV. So because what Tesla is offering is so much more value for money, of course most people will go with Tesla. And even as we thought Tesla would not continue the price cuts, they started the year off in Europe with more price cuts on the Model Y. The Model Y in most of Europe is now the same price as the refreshed Model 3. So Tesla will put the pressure cooker on the entire automotive industry again in 2024 here in Europe and in the US as well. The others are hurting with the EV sales, but they still need to show some progress and are forced to by regulators. Remember, in 2023, Tesla will probably end the year off with somewhere between $2.2 to $2.4 billion in regulatory credits. So money, the competition, is paying Tesla for doing nothing. And as they're cutting back on their EV production, they will probably have to continue to pay Tesla for the next couple of years. Yes, we had automotive analysts saying all the way back in 2019 those credits would probably disappear within the next couple of years, but here we are, and 2023 was a record year for regulatory credits for Tesla because the others don't sell enough EVs. So legacies are forced to continue to ramp up EVs. So of course they will all probably grow this year, but they will probably have to do some price cuts to sell those EVs as Tesla apparently continue their price war. So here in Europe, for example, even Volkswagen said they would never get into the price war with Tesla just because Tesla lowered the prices. But now they have finally given in as the Tesla Model 3 refreshed was suddenly cheaper than the little ID3. And sorry, but there is just no comparison between these two cars. The Tesla refreshed Model 3 is a really nice premium car, and the Volkswagen ID3 is a stripped down Volkswagen. So if Volkswagen should have any chance of selling just a few ID3s and ID4s in 2024, they have to make them cheaper than Tesla's models that are better EVs, or no one will of course buy them. People are not that stupid. And now we see Stellantis CEO out warning that Tesla's price cuts are going to lead to a bloodbath. And he's probably right. Not that Tesla will raise them to the bottom, but the others will bleed out badly, as they are already losing money on EVs today, and some are paying Tesla money because they're not selling enough EVs, and in 2024 they will lose even more money, just as we saw with the price war in China last year, where we had 5 bankruptcies over the last year, and 2,000 dealers went bankrupt in China last year. But also one of the legacy automakers like Mitsubishi left China altogether because they don't really offer EVs, so that market is already lost for the companies that are not producing EVs, as they would already have lost something like 30 to 40% of their sales. And there are so many BEV manufacturers in China, they can't all survive. And even though we're talking about the Chinese are coming all the time, and they will, we have to remember they are also struggling with earning money on their EVs. I have shown this chart before, but this was the profits in the Chinese BEV race. And the bar next to Tesla is all of the Chinese BEV makers combined, including BYD, and Tesla had more profits in the first 6 months of 2023 than the entire Chinese BEV manufacturers combined. So Tesla did pressure the entire Chinese BEV market in 2023 with all the price cuts because they had to follow suit. They can't have an EV being more expensive than a Tesla's BEVs, and that led to a few bankruptcies in 2023. And we have already seen Tesla's price cuts forcing legacy automakers to do what they said they would never do, with Volkswagen here in Europe, and that will probably continue in 2024 if they still want to sell some EVs. Well, they are forced to do so. And the same thing goes for the US automakers. GM still needs to show they can even enter the game in 2024, as they have stopped production of their Bolt, that stood for something like 65% of all their BEV sales in the US last year. Now that is gone, so let's see if GM can even get any of their ultimate BEVs to any meaningful volume before we even talk about GM again in the EV race. So let's stick with Ford instead, because they do have some great EVs like the Mach-E. But if we make comparison, you can see what we're talking about here, because the Model Y performance here in my country, in Denmark, is now only 425,000 Danish crowns, or about $62,500 equivalent. Yes, it is about $10,000 more expensive in Denmark than in the US, you lucky bastards. But the Mach-E GT, a direct competitor and very comparable, is 630,000 Danish crown, or the equivalent of $92,600. So the Mach-E is the equivalent of $30,000 more expensive here in Denmark and in most of Europe. And if Ford was a much better car, it would of course be okay with a higher sticker price. But when these two cars are very comparable, but the Mach-E loses on pretty much all specs, almost the same acceleration, Model Y performance 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 3.7 seconds. The Mach-E is 3.8. The range is a bit shorter on the Mach-E, but need to fill up 10 kilowatt hours more batteries to get less range, so it's also more expensive to fill up, but you get less. And the Mach-E has a nice frunk, but the trunk is only just above 400 liters, where the Model Y is 700 liters. And the safety on the Model Y is much better with the safety assist features and so on, and even the handling is better on the Model Y. And the software is just light years ahead on the Model Y, that constantly gets software updates and new features where Ford can't even do this today. You really have to be a hardcore Ford fan to choose the Mach-E over the Model Y, as the Tesla is just a much better vehicle all around, even if the price was the same. But it's not. And to get the inferior car, the Mach-E, you have to pay $30,000 more. Can you see how this is not sustainable for Ford, that is already losing $4.5 billion a year? What will happen when they're forced to lower their prices here in Europe by $30,000 to have a chance to sell just a few Mach-E's in 2024 here in Europe, or get penalties? No wonder Tesla was the fastest growing car company in Europe in 2023. And Ford was actually one of the biggest losers in Europe in 2023. But the price difference is not as steep in the US, but it's still there. The Model Y performance is $52,500 and the Mach-E GT is $62,000. And of course, whatever the dealer slaps on top of that MSRP price. And then on top of that, Tesla has the best and most reliable charging network in the US. And yes, Ford has jumped on board, but its customers will not really get true access to that before 2025. And in the US, Tesla is just about to roll out their full self-driving beta to the public. And then you can get the Model Y performance with full self-driving beta for the same price as the Mach-E GT that can't be compared anymore. And the same thing is true about other EVs in the US, that being, the Audi Q4 e-tron, that is just the Audi with the ID4 tech underneath the skin, but it's also more expensive and you get much less. Pretty much take your pick. No one really has something comparable to the Model Y for the same price. So Tesla is setting the price levels in pretty much every market on the planet right now when it comes to electric vehicles. If you want to sell high volume of your EVs in 2024, you have to cut prices. But they're already losing money, so that is not something they really want to do. They know the future is EV, they just don't know how to get there without going bankrupt first. So yes, Tesla's price cuts will hurt Tesla's profit short term, but at least Tesla has some profits on the EVs to lose. Others don't. And remember, even though everyone was screaming about Tesla's price cuts in 2023 and Tesla was doomed, Tesla went from $22 billion in the bank in the beginning of the year to $30 billion in the bank by the end of the year. And that was even at the same time Tesla spent a record high amount of capital expenditure and R&D expenses. So Tesla is still earning billions of dollars, even on their bottom line. After all the price cuts, what are people so worried about? The race is not next quarter or next year. It's the next decade, or maybe only within this decade. But it is not about the short-term fall in profits. That is just Tesla setting themselves up to be able to scale as fast as possible and steal as much market share as possible for the long-term game. And now, when the others are scaling back, Tesla can just grab even more market share in 2024. but the old legacy automakers could really start to hurt short term because of all of this. It will be fun to see how much Tesla's BEV market share will actually fall in 2024 in the US, because if the price war is really about to be turned on by Tesla in the US, Tesla could very well stay quite big in 2024 in the BEV market share, as no one can follow Tesla down in price, or it will cost the companies billions of dollars in losses if they do so. The old guys are really stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I have no fear for Tesla in 2024. I think they will hit something between 2 and 2.2 million vehicles sold, overtaking someone like Audi and Mercedes, maybe even BMW, if they shrink a bit, because their ICE car business might shrink faster than the BEVs are growing. But we will see how that race will turn out. But the one I'm worried about in 2024 would be the legacy automakers with really weak financial and a lot of debt and no or very little EV offerings, because we have to remember that even though many of the legacy automakers are cutting back on their targets, they of course all expected to grow in 2024. And the forecast is that BEVs will grow at least 3 million this year, from 10 million to 13 million. And these 3 millions will have to come from the ICE business. So the question is, who is going to be the biggest losers in 2024? Because on the one hand, we have someone like Ford losing $4.5 billion in 2023. Will they lose even more in 2024? Or have they been able to cut cost of their production of EVs to get the losses down? Or have they kind of thrown that out of the window by slowing down their EV production and not getting as fast to economy of scale? So we will see how that will go. Or will some of the biggest losers be the companies that do not have any EV offerings at all, as they will probably shrink quite a bit in 2024, as they don't have any BEVs in volume and have to pay someone like Tesla money in regulatory credits. One thing I can tell you is that Tesla will not be one of the biggest losers in 2024, as they already have EVs at scale and are already profitable. So them scaling up even more in 2024, both in the Berlin and Texas factory, will not hurt them, but only bring in more profits to Tesla, even with more price cuts. And they already have the most preferred BEV on the market. But not only BEV, the most preferred car on the planet, as the Model Y did become the best-selling car in 2023. So I just can't see how Tesla should have a bad year in 2024. I see nothing but a good year for Tesla in 2024. But we will probably see the legacy automakers that have the worst economy, big debt they have to pay interest on, while their profitable business is shrinking even more, have a really hard time in 2024. And the worst ones will probably reveal themselves in 2024, maybe with a few more bankrupts, as we saw in 2023. And we pretty much only have the numbers from the countries that gives us daily numbers, as we are very early into the year, but we are of course already off to the races. And Tesla has started the year off being the best-selling EV brand in Europe once again, and the Model Y is the best-selling EV model once again. Don't think that will change in 2024, not at all. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.